This is Janet with Try It, Like It, Create It, and today I want to show you a basic way to create a banner within Cricut Design Space, just using basic shapes and text. So to begin, you're going to open up your canvas in Design Space, and the first shape we're going to choose is a square. And once that's on our canvas, we're going to unlock the shape and turn it more into a rectangular shape. And once we like the size that we have, we're going to lock it back into place. Now the next shape we're going to use is a triangle. And once again, we're going to unlock the shape. And this time, we're going to adjust it until it covers both corners of the rectangle. Okay, this is starting to look like what I want. And you notice I'm just making it wider. I'm not moving it up because I don't want to cut too much into my banner shape. So I've got both corners covered now, and I'm going to lock that in place. Then I'm going to select both shapes, and to do that, you can do a select all, or you can just drag over both shapes. Now you can see that they're both chosen. And now I'm going to align them using center horizontally. Okay, so now I know that this point here in the center is going to be perfectly in the center of the banner, and that's what I want. While both shapes are still selected, I'm going to slice them. Notice over on the right hand side we were working with two shapes, and after I slice it, we now have four shapes. And the one that we want is this one at the bottom. So I'm going to click and delete all the shapes that we don't want. And that leaves us with the banner shape that I want. Now, in this tutorial, we're just going to add the word hello to our banner. And so I need to duplicate this shape. So if I select it and go to edit, I'm going to say copy and paste. And I'm going to do that enough for each letter that I need. Now, just moving those across the screen here. I'm not perfectly aligning them, I'm just giving them enough space so that I can see them all. And one thing I want to point out to you here is that if I can't see them all on the screen, I can go down here and make it just a little bit smaller. And now what that does is it is not changing the shapes at all. Okay? It's just changing my view on the screen. So don't confuse this with changing the sizes of your shapes. So there I have all my shapes. They're not perfectly aligned yet, and I'm not worried about that at this point. The next thing I'm going to do is to work with the type. And the first thing I'm going to do is type a capital H. And it's not exactly to the size I want. You can see up here with the font I'm working with Cricut Sans. I've made it bold. And I'm going to change the font size to 150 and see how that looks. So I want to go a little bit larger. I'm going to try 200. And that works for my banner shape. So I'm just going to place that. And I'm going to do that for each letter. Now I need to do that each letter singly. I can't do it as one word because I need to place it on each banner as an individual shape. So in remembering how I set up the H, it was Cricut Sans, it was bold, and I chose 200. I'm typing in 200 and hitting the return on my keyboard, and then I have it in the size that I want it. So now I'm going to do that for the L. And once again, the font stays the same, and all I need to do is change the font size, hit the return key, and I have it. Now here's a quick tip. Instead of doing that twice, I can duplicate it. So I can go to Edit, Copy and Paste, or I can use the Command Copy and Command Paste on my keyboard for a Mac. It's Command C as copy and Command V. And so I'm going to do that. And you can see that I've got two now. So I just use the keyboard command there. And then for the last letter, we have a capital O. And I'm holding the Shift key each time I type these because I want them all to be capital. Once again, changing it to 200 point, hitting my return key. Now, if I were to place this and cut it out, what I'm going to have is one big circle here without the center. And I want to retain the center of the O. So I need to do a little bit of work with this O to make it more stencil-like. I'm going to go back to my shapes. I'm going to choose the square. And I'm going to unlock it and make it very skinny. Okay, and once I like the size of what I have here, I'm going to lock it. This will make sense in just a moment. I'm going to place it over the O. Select both of them. Once again, I'm going to align them in the center. And now I'm going to slice. So I have shapes that I don't need, but you can see over here that I have the O with a slice down the center, and that's what I want. So I'm going to delete the shapes that I don't need that are here. And now I can place that O. Now, the next tip I want to give to you, I'm going to go into a smaller screen so I can show you. I'm going to take the score tool. It gives me a scoring line that is vertical. I want to change this to horizontal, so I'm going to rotate, but I'm going to hold down. I could go up here and rotate 90 degrees, and that would give me exactly what I want. Or I can hold my Shift key as I click on the rotate tool, and it will snap to the size that I want. And I'm going to make this quite long. What I'm going to use this for is an alignment tool underneath my letters, okay? But it's hard to see. So what I need to do is go into the score line over here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to change that to right, and I'm going to give it a light color so I can see it. Okay? So now I'm just going to place it under my letters. And then I'm going to bring my screen up larger again. On the wrong thing. Okay, so now you can see that my score tool, or my score line, which is now a drawn line, is yellow and sitting here where I can see it. All right, so I will get to that in just a moment. So for each banner shape, I want to center and make sure that the letter is centered in its shape. So I'm going to just collect the banner and the letter. Do not go down into the yellow line like this, because you'll be collecting too much information and the yellow line will adjust. So I just want these two shapes, and I want to align them center horizontal. Okay, we saw the H shift. Clicking off into space, going to click on the H, and now I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm just going to bring that down just a little bit to sit on that yellow line. Same thing here with the E. I'm going to take two shapes, align it, center horizontally, and then I'm going to grab the E, and with my arrow keys on my keyboard, I'm just going to move that down until it's sitting on that yellow line. Same thing here again. Now if you wanted, instead of doing this for both L's, you could just do it once. And once you have them, you could copy and paste, and then place it where you want it. But make sure that your banners are all aligned correctly. Lastly, and this one's a little bit trickier, because when it comes to typography, you can see that our first 4 letters are all square based and they just sit on the line. But round letters don't just sit on the line, they actually hang down a little bit past the line to make them look like they align up correctly, because they are typically just a little bit bigger than most letters. Okay, so I just did a Command Z, which is undo, to put it back where I had it. Alright, so now we have all of our banners. I want to choose that yellow line and move it up to where I want it to actually score my paper. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a score line so I can fold over the top, and then my banners can hang on a string or a wire. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to break this up and make a score line for the first 3 letters. And I'm going to change this back to an actual score line. I select it and copy and paste it. I'm using my keyboard to make that function happen quickly. And then I'm going to place it on the next 2 letters. Let me score it way out into negative space. So then I'm going to collect both of those score tools, holding my shift key down. On my computer, I've got both of them, and I'm going to align them vertically to make sure that we're going to put a score line at the same place on each banner. Let me move that up just a little bit. Okay, so I think that's about what I want. Now, the reason I chose to do that in 2 parts is that my banner is bigger than the paper that I have. And in fact, I may have to adjust this a bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all here and scroll over and just make this whole thing a little bit smaller. I think that'll do it. All right. So what we have are the first 3 banners work together and the score line. But what we haven't done yet is to cut the shapes out. So this time, I'm going to select from the bottom, and I'm just going to get the banner and the letter. So I have those 2 things chosen, and I'm going to slice. Okay? Now what it's done is it's given me multiple shapes here, and I need to delete what I don't want. So going into the H there. So now the H is cut out from my banner shape. I'm going to repeat this for the other 4. Once again, selecting the 2, slicing, and then deleting what I don't need. If you make a mistake like I just did in moving the banner, do not touch anything else. Just make the one movement and then undo it with a keyboard shortcut on your computer. If you're working with a Mac, that's a Command Z, which is an undo. Alright, so now I have the letters cut out of each banner shape. I want to select the first three, including the score line. I'm going to attach those together. Then I'm going to do the same for the last two. The reason I'm doing this is so that it will fit on my paper correctly. Now if we go to make it, I got this correct. There we go. Okay, so you can see what's happening here is that it's putting it all on one piece of paper. I'm going to change this material so that we just have a 12 by 12. And hopefully this should fit. Now once again I can rotate it here. It's not liking what I'm doing. Oh, it's still a little bit too large. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go back here and do a select all. I'm going to make my banner just a little bit smaller. You can make your banner whatever size you want. You could cut each piece out from a separate piece of paper, but what I'm trying to do here, there we go, is get this to fit on a 12 by 12 sheet. So now you can see that it's broken it up into two mats, and the first one is going to cut the first three banners and score. You can see right here, over to the left, that it's going to score and cut. And then my second piece of paper, we get the last two letters, and once again it's going to score and cut. So this will make a simple paper banner using all of the elements directly in Design Space without having to purchase anything, without having to import. It was just there were basic steps needed, and that we duplicated them over and over again. Hope you find this helpful. Would love to have you subscribe to my channel. Would love to have you look at some of my other videos, tutorials for Design Space as well.